Welcome to Studio Galaxy 473. And we're operating from Confero. And we are the Galaxy Equalizers. And we are here today with you, and we encourage you to share our program. Remember, we are the new kid on the block. So share our program and subscribe to Studio Galaxy. On this program, we provoke discussion. And accompanying me today is my brother Joshua. And today the topic is farming with a new attitude. We believe the time is correct, the time is right. Sometimes disaster or war is not good, but it's necessary. And when these things happen, it jolts people into reality. And perhaps our farmers in Grenada need a rude awakening. They need to be jolted into reality. And maybe the time has come for them to start to do farming with a new attitude. An attitude that perhaps they realize they should make money from farming.
Yes.
If you have it as a hobby, the hobby must make sense.
Yes.
And yes, my brother Joshua,
Mm-hmm.
farming with a new attitude.
Mm-hmm.
What you think about that?
Well, I think over the years, one of the um, methodology that has been suggested to aspiring people is a methodology called self-help. Now, we often hear about the dependency culture and how government keeps people poor and give them a little bit every so often, a tin of corned beef once in a while, in order to get the vote. But the opposite side to that is the self help philosophy, which says that you must help yourself if you want to move forward. There is nobody who's coming to help you organize your farm, etc., so that you can be successful. You may well get some assistance from somebody, whilst you're trying to produce and whilst you're trying to move your farm forward. But over the years, we have developed the culture that the ministry, and in many ways, the ministry has to work in partnership with farmers. But what we do know is quite often we, as a small developing nation, do not have the resources, or the government do not have the resources that people think they have. Already the argument has started that we've received so much money from aid for barrel, and where has the money gone? And the reality is we might be lucky if we've received 300 million in terms of aid. We might be very lucky if we receive that. But the actual cost to rebuild and to move forward is probably more like $1.2 billion. So I'm not one of those who are saying government thief money and where's the money, etc. What Mr. Pierre is suggesting this morning is that we help ourselves. We look at a new way in terms of farming. We take a new attitude towards farming. A lot of our farmers are small farmers. And rather than planting, say somebody has 2 acres of land, rather than planting an acre of land in cocoa and an acre in nutmeg, that we look at it different. And the reason to look at it different is that I listened to Senator Sinclair, I think, on Sunday. And what he was saying got me to rethink. He was saying that the nutmeg and cocoa tree takes a lot longer to produce than what people were saying. And he was suggesting something like, 7 years or 5 years, those kind of time zone. And I think if he's right, and I suspect he may well be right, that means that farmers have to be prepared, Because some of our farmers really are grandparents. They have to be prepared if they're replanting to accept that they might not be around to reap. So they have children, they have grandchildren, and the suggestion is that we do things better. So maybe with the small holding rather than cocoa and nutmeg, we'll look at commercial crops that will be profitable, new types of crops, things we overlook, simple things that are very profitable, like seasoning, scythe and thyme, shadow benny, some cash crop. We look at fencing. So, for example, if we want to keep some livestock, say we fence off an acre and then we fence it in four again, so we could have a rotation with the livestock, because you put it on quarter of acre of land. When the grass finish, you move it to the next quarter acre, and you keep going. So you give the land a chance to kind of, regenerate and grow and refertilize. Now, the thing about the livestock, quite often you can use the livestock waste for other types of farming, especially in terms of if you're growing cash crop, you're growing seasoning peppers, you're growing hot peppers, you're growing cabbages, you're growing lettuces, etc. You have a ready-made organic fertilizer for the crops. So I think we need to look at how we plant again, and the goal should be profitability. Is this crop that I'm growing, the quantity that I'm growing, the price on the market, is it going to be sustainable? Is it going to be profitable? We can't keep farming in terms of how we tend to do, a little bit traditional, catching our tail all the time and not analyzing, whether this crop will be profitable for us. And I think this is a new dispensation that we have to take. And in order to do that, it means we have to take responsibility for how we farm. We can't just go farming blindly anymore. We have to do a little research in terms of what's going to be profitable. So things that I often think that is overlooked is things like Christophine, beet. There's a good market for Christophine in terms of locally, in terms of the hotels, etc. And Mr. Pierre, not only growing these new type of cash crop or produce, but new technology that we use. Farming sometimes can be a little bit backbreaking, and we need to kind of bear that in mind. So sometimes, if we're gonna do move away from the monocrop and do this kind of mixed crop, I think, especially if you're looking at livestock, I think we have to look at sheds. We have to look at fenced area, because that blazing sun, and if you don't have trees or something for the poor cattle or sheep or goat to go under, just as you can't take it, they can't take it. So we need to design our small holdings a little bit better. And I think the missing link in terms of the small holding, whether we like it or not, the small holdings that we had for cocoa and nutmeg, we have to create something similar in terms of an area for our farmers where the produce that they produce is guaranteed to be bought by a consolidator like a marketing board. Now, marketing board is the big national kind of organization, but we could have smaller area marketing board that are more like cooperative. I'm not a great believer in cooperatives, because I think sometimes what I've seen of cooperative is people squabbling among themselves, very little discipline. But I know when cooperatives makes money, there's discipline because the gas station in town, Morris Bishop Highway, is a cooperative and it's very successful. Nobody argues. I went to one of their meetings, nobody argues. They're all making plenty of money. But I know when organizations are cooperative and they're struggling, I think it becomes destructive. So that's my take, Mr. Pierre, in terms of initially, in terms of that. I want to come back after your input and talk about something I see as extremely profitable and in the national interest. But I don't want to hog the mic.
Always remember discussion I had with Truman. If you live in St. Andrews area, you must hear and know about Truman.
Truman the tire man?
Yeah. Truman say when nutmeg was 16 cents a pound, as soon as he go into the land, sandfly eating out all the eyelash as a sheep. But when they bring nutmeg to $3, he say he happy like Rumpelstiltskin. You don't see one sandfly in the land. Yeah. So sometimes farmers say that the land is backbreaking.
Yeah.
That is when you're not making money.
Yes.
I never hear weed growers complain about hard work.
Yeah.
And athletes who are basketball players or football players, they never complain about backbreaking work. So anytime you hear a farmer complaining about backbreaking work, it's because the farmer not making money. I see we have a lot of people, and I like them too. They just say no pain, no gain.
Yeah.
They have some jerseys on them, and they're nice as golf. They're looking well, and they're running on the road, and they're causing men to go in accident. I never hear they talk about backbreaking work. So a farmer have to make money.
Yes.
Our farmers have to change their attitude.
Yeah.
And we're going to put this thing into 3 categories today. You have the majority of farmers under 5 acres of land. We're going to speak about farmers around 20 acres of land. And big farmers in Grenada, which is very few, we will say 100 acres of land.
Yeah.
People have to change their attitude. Grenada have the most landowners in the Caribbean. And I wouldn't surprise if we have more landowners, the most landowners in the world. We're in a democratic country, and you don't have to plant what other people planted.
Right.
Government cannot dictate to you what to plant.
Right.
Obviously, they could lock you up for weed, but you could grow what you want in your land. That gives you power. You don't have to plant cocoa in an acre land because you would not able to make more than 1,400 pounds of dried cocoa from a proper acre land. So why plant cocoa? You don't have to plant nutmeg in an acre land. You may not make more than $800, more than 800 pounds of nutmeg. 600 to 800 pounds in an acre land. But if you plant corn in an acre land, you could make $20,000.
Wow, that's
if you
good.
plant seasoned pepper in an acre land, you could make $20,000-$30,000. So it is foolhardy. It is upside down. It is practically crazy for us to continue to plant crop for romantic reasons. And I always say cocoa in small plot of lands, people plant it for romantic reasons.
Yeah.
They like cocoa. They like cocoa. They go down with the whole culture of fighting to sell your cocoa.
Yeah.
Of going to the pool with your nutmeg and don't get in it sell. They seem to get some internal satisfaction. We must change our attitude and understand that if you have lands, you must make money from land.
Yeah.
Even if once you have under 5 acres of land, you have your house on it. So it's not 5 acres again you have for agriculture. If you like flowers, plant flowers you could sell.
Yes.
Make money from your hobby.
Yeah, and get a contract or get an agreement from the hotels of the buyers of flowers.
That is if
and
you're
then
in town.
plant.
Country people can't get no contract from hotel. They don't want to see them contribute like that.
Mhm.
But the neighbors may buy flowers.
Mhm.
There were time when groups in the community was doing they have a big word, a floral design, or how you call it.
Yeah,
These
floral.
kind of romantic words are not so associated with it. But
Mhm.
they used to prepare flowers for wreath.
Mhm.
So you could sell wreath and people
Yeah.
die in regular.
Yeah, I have a cousin who actually does very well designing and selling wreaths.
And Grenadian like funeral.
Yeah.
And if you market wreath,
Yeah, yeah.
everybody going to wreath for the dead.
Mhm.
Now remember, after the wreath is happier.
Mhm.
So the farmer
Mhm.
must take that opportunity and capitalize. I'm
Yeah.
planting flowers in the yard and I'm making money from the flowers.
Yeah. Do
It's a
you
different attitude.
Yeah, you remind me of my grandmother's kind of yard. She always had
Yes.
flowers.
When Valentine come,
Mm.
the flower grower must be begging men, go in the rum shop. Because most of these men you see in the rum shop, they're afraid to go home.
Yeah.
Because next time, sometimes they forget to buy chocolate. So go and sell flowers for them to bring to the wife. And you, the flower, give them like a chocolate and spice too.
Yeah, yeah.
So when the man drink the rum, sometimes he get romantic.
You're right.
We have to do more.
Yes,
We have
yes.
to change our attitude. We have to change our mentality.
Yeah.
A small plot of land must make money.
Yes, absolutely.
We have a lot of waste from the kitchen. What you do with the waste?
Mm-hmm.
You growing cockroach
Mm-hmm.
and ants and
Mm-hmm.
insect. What happens if you have 100 hens?
Mm-hmm.
They eating all the cockroach.
Yeah,
They eating
yeah.
all the ants.
Yeah,
They eating
yeah.
all the insect in the yard.
Yeah, yeah.
And you could go and get some wood ants and give them. They eating that too.
Yeah, yeah.
All the waste, the rice,
Mm-hmm.
even the chicken. Well, when they buy this chicken, they eat bone everything, so the fowl won't get nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
But what you will be doing is recycling.
Yeah.
You is a true environmentalist.
Yes, yes, yes.
Nothing too true.
Yeah.
Because the fowls in the yard is eating the waste.
Yes, yes.
You hardly have cockroach.
Yeah, yeah.
Like yesterday, when we had pit toilet, we smoked the pit toilet and we call the fowls. Every cockroach that fly out, the fowl take that.
Oh gosh.
And then we eat the fowl.
Yeah.
And the fowl tastes nicer.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to you about that after the program because I left home when I was small and then I came back. So, but I want to touch on a couple of things that you said because I have evidence when you say when people are making money, there's no complaint. When the farmer's making money, you don't hear any back breaking. And my main kind of area in terms of working in is business. And one of the things that you do as a business consultant or advisor is when you do an assessment in terms of a business that's failing, the what you tend to see is everybody fighting against each other in the business and complaining about each other. But the minute the business become profitable and has the cash flow, all complaints stop. All kind of issues disappear, gone away, you know. So I think, Mr. Pierre, you're probably right in terms of your analogy in terms of the farmer. That will happen as well.
I met a woman the last time. I stopped on the road because she looking too nice. I couldn't pass. But she have a gas. And I went out, men, all the little courtesies and flattery we extend to women who look too attractive.
Yeah.
And start talking with her. She had big children in the home, but she couldn't get them to buy gas.
Oh gosh.
To go and buy the gas. I said, well, that is minor. It's not you that paying the current bill home. Well, the next time you have to buy a shoe for them, say you're responsible for sweeping the yard and collecting gas and doing the weeding in the yard, and I'll buy the shoe you want. If you want the big brand name, or I'll buy you a punkasal. Simple and straightforward. Because the children in the house have to learn to be productive.
Absolutely.
And you have a small portion of land, and the land in bush, and you have to pay somebody to clean the bush in the yard. And you have a nice looking daughter, and a strong son there.
Mm-hmm.
Now something have to be wrong with you. What happens if your daughter married to a farmer like me?
Mm-hmm.
And quite in particular, she don't have no choice. She
Mm-hmm.
have to work the land.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens if your son have land in the future?
Mm-hmm.
So you start to show them the economy
Mm-hmm.
in the house. Encourage them.
Yeah, yeah.
For instance, Grenadians like seasoning.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when I eat a piece of meat, I think it's most seasoning I eat. And it's a good thing
Mm-hmm.
because we cook our meat to death.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very difficult for us to get worms
Yeah.
in the meat.
We make
Well,
sure that the cow dead.
yes, we well cook. They cook the meat to death.
Mm-hmm.
So why not let you 10-year-old start to produce seasoning?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
if you and the 2-3 neighbors
Good idea.
using about $10 seasoning per week,
Mm-hmm.
and your 10-year-old could use the land,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps from a little help from his worthless father. You know, those women like to say, when you hear they're broken, every time they see the boy, they say you just as a worthless father. But when the worthless father come around,
Mm-hmm.
butter him as how you does butter him sometime on a Friday.
Yeah.
And let him show you, boy, how to establish season.
Mm-hmm.
There.
Mm-hmm.
And he can sell $10 seasoning a week.
Mm-hmm.
Well, $10 seasoning a week don't look much,
Mm-hmm.
but 52 weeks in the year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And your 10-year-old has a mass.
Yeah, so you're an economist now.
$520 a year from selling seasoning.
A lot
Well,
of
by
money.
the time your 10-year-old reach 15 years,
Mm-hmm. He has a business ready
we
to
have
go.
to change our attitude.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mr. Pierre, just following up from the points you've made, and they're very good points, and they're practical points, and they're doable, and they have an economic return. But one of the things we have to talk about is what is stopping our rural families from engaging in that, because one of the things that I read recently is St. George's is growing. You know, St. Andrews is reducing in terms of population. St. Patrick's the same. And people are going to the city, and the city is becoming an area of poverty in terms of people going there and the cost of living in the city. And the rural areas are declining. Now, if we use the self-help idea, you know, people could have a good quality of life in the rural economy. Yes, okay, so I'm not going to run away from it. Government has to kind of create that enabling environment. But the drift started years ago towards the city, whereby people are going to the city and their quality of life and their values change because you know, the bigger a country becomes, the bigger a city becomes, it becomes impersonal. Whereas there's still a little of this in terms of the rural area where people know each other. And if you're inclined to do anything wrong, somebody's going to tell your father or your cousin, etc., or report you. In the city, it becomes impersonal. And people get drifted into a culture of wrongdoings. Not all, but some. And you know, so I worry about that drift, and I want to make the link that we could have a sustainable lifestyle in the rural area if we use the self-help idea. I'm going to talk about one area, but before I talk about that area, Mr. Pierre, you're not telling the people what number to call in, and we want to chat with them.
Yes, the number is 410 3030. 410 3030. And yes, we would we will read some of your comments. 410 3030.
Yeah,
My brother asked an important question. What causing the drift into the town?
Yeah, as you can see, less and less
And
kind
I
of
believe
opportunities in the rural economy.
I
People,
believe it's a question of mentality. You're surprised to know how the class mentality in Grenada is growing. A
mhm,
system of show off, the
mm,
country and tongue attitude.
mhm.
They feel they're better than others.
Oh,
In the old time days, they used to say the girl going tongue 2 days she messing ice cream.
yeah,
You know? They
yeah,
used to say she's showing off. She
yeah,
messing ice cream.
yeah. But
They used to use language like she thinks she's social.
yeah, yeah.
And there's some of the people who go to St. George's,
Mhm.
they don't even call you back and see
Yeah,
the
but
family.
Mr. Pierre,
It's an attitudinal part.
yeah, attitude might play a part. But I'll give you a personal experience. I could live in the UK or Canada and make a very good living in terms of commercially. But nevertheless, I live in Grenada, and my quality of life is far better in Grenada, in rural Grenada. But it's a challenge financially. I have to admit it. It's a challenge financially in rural Grenada. But people have to decide, and it's easier for me. I'm at the end of my
You need departure lunch.
I'm in the departure lounge now. So I don't have the need for so much material things, you know. A good meal and good conversation and doing something useful in my country satisfied me far more than just living in isolation, making a lot of money in a place on my own. But I want to move on to what we started talking about,
Land.
land. Now,
Sir.
Mr. Pierre, you mentioned chicken and the toilet smoking and all the rest of it, and I have to find out about that. But I want to tell people or share with people, you know, the potential benefit of rearing chickens for eggs. Now, we have about 20,000 school children who are on the school feeding program. It could be less, it could be more. I don't have the up to date data because I haven't worked in this area for about 5 or 6 years. But just stick with the idea. Now, if we have the school feeding program menu adopted to use 1 egg per day with school children, it could be for breakfast, it could be for lunch, it could be in different ingredients or meals that are being made. Now, that's 100,000 eggs a week. God knows how much eggs a year that is, Um, it provides a good living for people who want to produce eggs. So there's two types of eggs in my view, and there's probably loads more types of eggs. But the free range eggs, if you could fence off 1/4 acre of your land and then divide it again with fencing, and you have the same thing in terms of rotating your free range chicken to be scratching and to eat the waste, as Mr. Pierre say, it's a potentially daily income that you have. If we can set it up in a way that we have a collector who collects all the eggs in the area and brings it to the school feeding program, you create your own opportunity. You revitalize the rural economy. You have money circulation, and you stop us kind of sending the little money we have abroad. But it requires an attitudinal change, a mindset change, in order to do that. And to begin with, it requires working with the ministry to set up the template. People would require assistance in terms of, setting up the fencing and having the coop where the hens could lay. But you could do it with like 100 chicken. You could do it with 500. You could do it with 1,000. You could do it with 5,000. The demand is there for the eggs. Currently, there's a shortage of egg again. Usually, there's a shortage of egg, which is explainable at Christmas when people say we have to import, we don't. But every time Christmas is coming around, I normally say to the hens, listen, I need more work from you, more production. Every year they don't listen to me. So Christmas is a period where, yes, we have to balance it, that the country could probably import a little eggs so everybody has eggs. But on the main,
But you have shortage? No.
yeah,
That's not to encourage you.
yeah, on the main, we're normally able to produce all our eggs, and we consume about 80 eggs per person currently, and I think half of that is probably consumed in the hotels. The highest consumers of table eggs, they consume about over 500 eggs a year, per person. So our eggs consumption is very low, and I think that is probably as a result of the kind of misinformation that was spread about eggs, similar to coconut oil, etc. All of this has been debunked years ago, but the information hasn't gotten to
It take a
to the
50
public.
years for it to come in.
Yeah.
But that is why we need to change the attitude of the farmer.
Yes. Yes.
And we have a lot of small holdings under 5 acres of land.
Mm-hmm.
And farmers have to change their attitude.
Mm-hmm.
You have to wonder what you're doing in the land.
Mm-hmm.
Are you planting the tree bees, bocano, bamboo, and balige? Do you have nutmeg? Do you have cocoa?
Mm-hmm.
Are you making money from cocoa? Are you maximizing your effort economically?
Mm-hmm.
If you made $10,000 from the land last year, how much you intend to make this year?
Mm-hmm.
And if an extension officer come by, you're supposed to ask the extension officer, I want to make $50,000 from the land.
Yes.
Tell me how to do it or go. Because your interest is to make more money from the land.
Yeah.
If your child is doing agriculture in school,
Yeah.
you have to tell the child, go and find out how we could make more money in the land.
Yeah. Does the extension service teaches the extension officer business and how to scale up businesses? I don't think they do.
Government don't scale up business much as extension officer. The extension officer is like a piece of pipe, a conduit, where they pass information from the farmer to the government and from the government to the farmer. And they help you in husbandry practices to improve your crops. Basically that.
Yeah.
But farmer production last year was $15,000. The farmer cannot be satisfied with that.
Yeah.
If you could make $35,000, or let's say $30,000 from 1 acre of pepper and $7,000, or not even 1,400 pounds of cocoa, let's say $7,000 from 1 acre of cocoa. But you could make $35,000 from 1 acre of pepper.
Yeah, and we never
and
have
you can
enough.
make $40,000 from 1 acre of potato. And you might get 2-3 crops in the year. Well, don't talk about lettuce. Because every 2 months, let's say every 2 months, or let's say every 3 months. So 3 or 4 times for the year. Then why in God's name you planting cocoa?
It comes back.
Those questions must be asked.
Yeah, it comes back to what we've spoken about in the past, Mr. Pierre. We need a model farm demonstrating these things. I think the time is ripe to do that, because listening to you this morning, this is something that's within our power. The
We
fencing,
could change this thing in 5 years.
the fencing might be a little bit difficult, and
The fencing, know what the fence?
You know.
Poor farmer, one of the luxury poor people have is time. Poor people have time. So
Yeah.
you could use recycled galvanized. The old galvanized are throwing. The drum that come with tar. You have time, you could split the drum, heat it and use for fencing. You could use bamboo for fencing. You could plant Goricida, Tricantera, Munga, Lucinia, 2 or 4 feet apart. And you're practically making a biological fence over 3-4 years. One of the biggest energy potential energy that poor people have is time. That's why they're poor.
Oh
Poor
God.
people have plenty time. And
Uh,
your plot of land is small. You have 5 acres of land.
yeah. Most
And you
of-
could grow yard fowl.
yeah.
And if you have 100 hens, obviously you cannot have too much cock.
Yeah.
If
But
you have too much cock in the yard, you go end up getting cacarass fowl.
yeah.
Inbreeding.
Yeah.
Inbreeding is bad in human being.
Yeah.
It's worse. It's very, very bad in
Yeah.
animals too.
But two things come to mind. The variety of fowls that is around and used to be around and have died out.
It must die out. Too much of cacarass cock.
Yeah, in
It's only
Grenada.
in human being.
Yeah.
The people are not very selective.
Yeah, and the other thing that you said that's highlighted my thinking is profitability. We must identify the crops that are going to give us a profit. When you talk about the peppers, hot peppers, seasoning peppers, they both have such a big demand, and they can't get hot peppers at the moment in terms of I have a buyer who wants 80 pounds every week of hot peppers. I've not been able to supply them for the past 8 months. So profitability, identifying crops that are high in profit and identifying crops that are medium in profit. It's all important. Identifying crops that you could put under the ground, turn your back on it, and then 6 months later come back to it. That mixture, is important. Now, there's a school of thought around that says that the way our grandparents used to farm was better because it was better for the soil. And that was the mixture of different crops that used to be grown on an acre or 2 acres, as opposed to what they call the monocrop, where you grow one crop and it's supposed to deplete certain nutrients from the soil and eventually it damages the soil. So there has to be thought given to how we farm. The little science in terms of farming has to be taken into consideration. But these are not complex things. You could have them on a sheet of paper, grow yams, dasheen, and then grow peppers or some banana or plantain that gives you the shade. But if we think it through, we don't even need the scientists. We can work it out ourselves, where we create shades and we do the intercropping, and we must make profit. Farmers must make profit. Without profit, you just,
You're
creating
spinning
profit.
top in mud.
Yeah, we
The
must.
farmers are spinning top in mud.
Yeah, farmers
And the
must
time
make
has
profit.
come for farmers to change their attitude.
Yeah,
What the farmer doing with dandakayo tree on the land? The farmer have 5 acres of land, 3 dandakayo tree in it, 2
Yeah.
bokano, a
Yeah.
bamboo stool. What you doing with that on your land?
yeah. And one of the fruit that is in high demand as well, we don't talk about, is passion fruit. Passion fruit, from what I understand,
What is the cost to produce passion fruit?
you
Maybe
know,
10 cents a pound.
yeah, yeah. So passion fruit has a demand, especially in the cities.
What is the cost to
hotels.
produce pumpkin?
Yeah.
You
And
see,
pumpkin has a demand.
we have to change our attitude.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate and it's sad, but
Mhm.
the farmer has to change his mentality.
Yeah.
And if the farmer's children,
Hmm.
it's sad news where agriculture is concerned.
Hmm.
We make some kind of children, they don't meddle with agriculture at all.
Yeah.
And that is what is sad, because Grenada have the most landowners.
Yeah.
And we live in a country where we make our own decision. We're not in Cuba. They
Yeah.
can't tell you what to plant. You
Yeah.
plant what you want.
Yeah. But yeah.
That is power.
Yeah. But we have a contradictory culture whereby we want our children to be lawyers and doctors and
And they don't have no land.
and
And
then
the doctors and lawyers want land.
yeah.
You could build anything in the sky,
Yeah.
you have to build it on land.
Yeah. and they often go away
And see trouble. A lot of times seeing trouble in America
yeah,
and England. Yes, a few of them making it.
yeah, and the land becomes abandoned. So we have a contradictory
We have to
culture.
change our mentality
You know,
or attitude.
you know who I see who I have a little admiration for is Peter David. Peter's a lawyer, but he's a farmer as well, and he bought land recently to farm.
A lot of lawyers doing that.
Uh-huh.
It's a pity they didn't learn that in school.
Yeah,
They had to go to school, go to university,
Uh-huh.
turn lawyers. Then they realize the value of land.
yeah,
But we need to check in culture our children
yeah,
to
yeah,
understand the
Yeah.
power
yeah.
and the value of land.
Yeah.
Instead of you running the whole road saying no pain, no gain. You have 5 acres of land. Why you going to plant flowers?
Mm-hmm.
Why you going to plant seasoning?
Mm-hmm.
You're losing the same weight
Mm-hmm.
and you're looking better and you have more money in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And you will not prevent, you're going to avoid accident.
Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Pierre, whilst we're talking, a little sadness just ran across.
Somebody dead again?
No, I
I
was.
thought it was a nutmeg farmer that dead.
Oh God, no. A little kind of thing just flashed across me, and I was thinking, how are we going to revitalize this rural economy? Because we need
We're going to revitalize it by advocating as brutally as we could. Farmers change their mentality.
Yes.
Simple.
Yeah.
The seasoning industry in Grenada is $1 million one.
Yes, yes.
Millions of dollars worth of seasoning
Yeah.
is imported in Grenada.
Yeah. And Mr. Pierre.
Millions of dollars worth of seasoning
Yeah.
is imported in Grenada.
Yeah, Mr. Pierre, I had a good day yesterday. It was Friday the 13th. I had one product. I had plantain, and I was supplying to two buyers. One took a small amount, 50 pounds. I had about 150 pounds left. And I called up one of the buyers that don't buy regular, and they said, "Yeah, we'll take all." I gave them the price; they was happy. Some of the assistant chefs were saying, "Plantain selling for $15 a pound in St. George's now." I said, "Really?" But anyway, I'm not putting the 15 pounds. I'm keeping it at the same price. And what the chief chef said to me, Mr. Pierre, is that, "Can you make seasoning for us?" And I said, yes, seasoning is very easy with a investment of about 15 or 20,000 in terms of hydroponic. It is very, very easy to do. And so it's ironic that this
We are
morning
importing millions of dollars of water seasoning.
Yeah,
Salesmen are passing every day. People want seasoning.
yeah. So
Most of the shops,
yeah,
you see endless foreign seasoning.
yes. So
Our
what you
people
say is
consuming
important.
seasoning.
Yes,
They don't produce it.
yes,
And they have enough land to grow pity bomb, to grow thyme, to grow shadow benny, to grow scythe, to grow the season. We already have spice and clove. Well, we bring in garlic and onion, but we have a garlic, a plant here that grow just as garlic.
okay,
So you could use it. You
Yeah.
have saffron and ginger.
yeah,
You have orange peel. What in God's name wrong with us except poor attitude,
yeah. So
poor economic attitude?
yeah, so we have to advocate in terms of this approach, this self-help approach, and get the farm into productivity. So let's stick on the small farm holding, Mr. Pierre, because one of the critical area that we have to acknowledge is irrigation.
Now, if you have 5 acres of land, how much irrigation you need? You have a house on the land. You put guttering in your house.
Okay.
You learn some skills on dry land farming for the off season. You
Yeah.
collect all the water that from your own house and use. When you make a crop, if you make $10,000 in a crop, you buy a container. The farmers are not investing in the land.
Yeah.
When the year comes,
let's stick on how they could do it in terms of what you were saying, which again raised my got my attention. So you continue in terms
Use
of
your
that.
home, you establish guttering system in your home.
Right.
You could get drums, or
Mhm.
maybe you could buy a thousand gallon
So rainwater harvesting is the common
rainwater
name.
harvesting.
Yeah.
But that is a big one.
Yeah.
Rainwater harvesting.
Yeah.
Collect the water from your roof in
Uh-huh.
a drum.
Yeah.
Bigger the drum, better.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That is a simple thing.
And then we could have the drums on the land just kind of sitting there collecting rain.
In yesteryear, when there was no water in pipe,
Mhm.
when people had to go in ravine and drain for water, everybody had a callaloo drain. Every callaloo drain.
Yeah.
Today, water galore.
Mhm.
Nobody have callaloo drain.
Mhm. Mhm.
What we need is a change of attitude.
And do you think we need a change of policy as well? Do you think farming, in terms of water use, should be only 10% of the price that it's normally sold at for domestic
Well,
use?
normally, most time you talk about policy, there's a whole discussion. Because if you want to see the government policy, you should just able to work in the government estate.
Yeah,
The
but
government is the biggest farmer in Grenada.
yeah,
So if you want to know what the government policy is, you're supposed to be able to just work in the government farm.
yeah, but
The government farm supposed to reflect the
Mhm.
government policy.
yeah. But what I know is that a lot of farmers, poultry farmers, they complain that the cost for feeding the poultry with water is twice as much as domestic. So I'm trying to say, if we're creating an ecosystem as we're describing this morning with recyclable farming, environmentally friendly farming, we have to think about a full system and not just half a system. So we've already saying to farmers, okay, cocoa and nutmeg might not be the best thing to put all your land in. Maybe we have to think different. Yes, we have to think different, not maybe. We have to think different. And maybe we have to look at crops that are profitable. And we know that we have some dry areas where our land is. And therefore, we have to look at rainwater harvesting. We have to look at ways of collecting water. We have to look at what they call contour drains. I learned that from the extension officers. And we have to have kind of crops on the land whereby it holds the water and then drips it onto the land bit by bit. So we have to have a ecosystem that we use in terms of water. We have to say if there's a house on the land and the wastewater is coming out from the house, we have to recycle it and reuse it as well. I know
The farmer has to change their attitude.
yeah,
The farmer has to want to make money from the land.
yeah.
The farmer have to maximize
Mm-hmm.
the economic effort.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have 5 acres of land,
Yeah.
so most of the farmers with 5 acres of land are poor farmers.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things poverty gives you, one of the biggest potential poverty gives you is time. You have time. So you have to start to spend more by what you income you get from your land. What are your motto is you buy less, you spend less money because you could gather from the land. And use the land to maximize your income. Every year, you must use that portion of land you have under 5 acres. Some may have half. Use the land to make the most money. And you determine what are the crops I could make the most money from. Season is a crop you could make money from. Corn is a crop you could make a lot of money from. Right there, rabbits. Because the farmer could eat the rabbit. And you could get the waste from the cabbage, the lettuce, the corn, the vine. All over the place is foraging material.
Yeah, and the rabbit skin they use, I've seen it being used to make ornamental
Well,
things.
one of the challenges in the Caribbean, women don't like rabbit. They doesn't cook rabbit. Because they say rabbit look as a child.
Oh, okay.
So to break that mentality, that is where government with good policy does come in. To break that mentality, you say feed rabbit to these children. But again, we have so much of women in authority here. If they don't eat rabbit, they don't want children eating rabbit. So rabbit is principally consumed by man.
Yeah.
Because man eating anything.
Yeah.
They eating from manicu, they eating anything.
Yeah. So we have to.
But the waste from the rabbit also is a fertilizer.
So we have to find a way how to get women on side without
shock therapy. Encourage them to eat the rabbit. They say eat the rabbit. Good for you. We go eat it.
So we want to get our women on side in terms of our policies because they say.
Well, the greater women are making policy. The whole agriculture full of a woman.
Yeah, they
and those women when they speak, they're not hearing you.
They say if you want to educate a nation, educate your women. So there must be some sense in
right
that.
Now. Those men that they look so domesticated that those women are ruling.
Right.
But we must change our attitude. I mean, that was dealing with small farmers under 5 acres of land. We have not touched the big farmers, 20 acres of land, and we have not even asked the government to change their attitude. Because the government policy.
So maybe the 20 acres might be more suited to maybe 5 acres of cocoa.
Small ruminant. Yeah. Then you might put 1/4 of your land in cocoa. Yeah. I don't think anybody in Grenada now should plant the entire land in cocoa and nutmeg.
Yeah.
When hurricane come again, imagine it up.
Yeah.
And government will have no plan for hurricane.
Yeah.
So you put a smaller portion of your land, maybe under a quarter, in nutmeg. Cocoa is much more resistant to hurricane.
Yeah.
Cocoa could take chafing.
Okay.
So you continue perhaps with that. And you use other crops.
Yeah.
And somebody that have 20 acres of land, based upon where the land is, it is good to fence the land.
Yeah.
You could use biological fencing to start.
Yeah.
You plant posts 3 or 4 feet apart, segment the land, and over a period of time you fence the land. That would prevent some level of predatory larceny. We have 3 types of thief in Grenada where predatory larceny is concerned. The thief that is most dangerous is the thief that thief less.
Yeah.
But another time we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. I want to spend some time before we go about.
Well, you don't have much time, you know.
About 5 minutes to summarize some of the things. Just
try and do it in 3.
In 3.
Well, you have 5.
Okay, because we've talked about changing mentality in terms of how we farm, and we talked about cash crops, etc. We've also talked about irrigation and how to use naturally irrigation as much as well. I spent a little time on the poultry, but there is different types of poultry as well in terms of the egg farmers. There's a little hen called Cornish hen that people like, the hotels like at Christmas. And there's also hens as well in terms of show hens that people can raise. So there's lots of opportunity there for farmers to do those things. We didn't mention, soursop in terms of a mixture of soursop and, different crops like oranges and lemons, etc. There's a big demand for lemons in Grenada and limes, traditional limes. We need to do that. Also, in terms of news, there was a news conference on Friday, and the government officials said that they'll be rolling out the assistance program this week coming. So that is good news for farmers. And we talked last week about the need show us the money, and it looks as though government intends to show us the money. So I applaud that effort moving forward. But we also want to remind government that we're looking for the medium-term plan in terms of revitalizing agriculture. That's very important. And also we're looking at the long-term assistance for farmers. What we don't want to happen is farmers are given a little assistance in the beginning and then forgotten. There's been little investment in agriculture over the years. Agriculture contracted by about 6% before barrel. So already we was in trouble. And year by year, agriculture has been struggling. We need the policymakers to look at the linkage and put the enabling environment in for linking agriculture and tourism. Otherwise, we're fighting against ourselves. Mr. Pierre says that we tie our hands behind our back and then we go and negotiate. And unfortunately, I have to agree with that. The incentives, the concessions we've given to the hotels mean that they don't need us. They're mama guying us. When we go, they create a story that, oh, you're not reliable, you're not dependable, you're not able to supply. But look at the food that the hotels have. Where does it come from? Local farmers. Look at the food at IGA and Foodlands and Food Fair. I don't want to leave anybody else. Calico. Where does it come from? Local farmers are the ones who are producing it and giving it to them. Look at the food in Grenville Market. Where does it come from? Look at the food. It's our farmers who are doing it. Our farmers can and have been producing over the years. Look at the vendors on the roadside. Who's producing all this cantaloupe and watermelon? They are. So I'm asking for help from our nation. Do not buy into this argument that you hear hoteliers are using, that you hear some of our officials in the ministry are using, that farmers can't produce, they're not reliable, they're not dependable. This is a strategy that's being used to basically take the resources from our children mouth to stop us from earning economic living. Now, we've created a system that essentially is designed for importers to import food in, but we are an independent nation. We have to change our mentality, how we farm, and our politicians have to change their mentality on how they govern us. It is time that we get our share of the pie from our country.
And it's time that we end the program too. Yes, this morning we provoking discussion, and we believe that farmers must change their attitude. A change of attitude in farmers. And this is just provoking discussion as we throw some of our thoughts in the public. And we hope people will discuss it. We want you to share our program and hold the discussion here and there and hope things is better. Because we have to improve, definitely. And we want to thank our technical operator today, Elisa. Elisa, thank you very much.
And she looks very nice. She has a new hairstyle.
A new hairstyle. And we're also trying a mixture. Some people in the departure lounge and some in the arrival. And we want to see how that combination could work in Grenada.
Yes.
And if it work with us here, then we rest assured, we're sure the farmers could change their attitude.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.